Thanks very much. I'm really excited. I'm George Abernathy. I'm the proud president of Freightwaves. Really excited as we have our first Freight Tech Venture Virtual Summit to be joined today by Kathryn Schifferle. Kathryn's the CEO and founder of Work Truck Solutions, and she's joining us today from Chico, California. Kathryn, thank you and good morning.
Good morning, George.
Really appreciate you doing this. Let me level set for everybody and tell everybody about Kathryn and her background and why it's so terrific that we'll be able to talk about venture capital and how Freight Tech plays in that. Kathryn's career includes multiple successful software startups prior to her introduction to the work truck industry with Work Truck Solutions. She launched Ford Pros magazine in 2007, which focused on the business of selling commercial vehicles. And then she founded Work Truck Solutions in 2011, creating a platform that solves the problem of missing configuration and location information for work trucks and vans for dealers, OEMs, and body manufacturers and their distributors. In 2019, they launched the national marketplace Convoy.com, supporting Schifferle's mission to create a frictionless end-to-end experience for commercial vehicle buyers through innovative technology while helping dealers maximize their commercial business opportunities. So we're really, really excited to have this kind of voice talking to us today around Freight Tech and how venture capital works. So let's get right into it, Kathryn. So tell me a little bit about WTS, about Work Truck Solutions, and the Convoy platform and your partners and how it serves that ecosystem. And then we'll branch out into, so there's your Freight Tech part, and then we'll branch out on how the venture capital has supported you.
You bet. So it's really unusual situation. It's a very large space, as you know, George, commercial vehicles. And just as a little factoid, work trucks touch or support 80% of our GDP. And so it affects the whole, we saw it during the pandemic, right? That the essential businesses need to keep operating. And what most people don't know is that these unique configurations like dump trucks and flatbeds and, fire trucks, when they're built after the VIN is assigned to the vehicle. So the OEM creates the chassis, and then another company or two or three or sometimes more finish that vehicle. And in that whole process in the supply chain, no one keeps track of what that vehicle becomes. And so you can't search for them online by what they became. And that's what I discovered a number of years ago, back in 2010, did some continued research. I couldn't believe that it was a truthful situation. And, because it's over $150 billion industry and no one knows what they're selling.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, discovering and researching where that final configuration might reside most of the time, because the whole supply chain is very fragmented. It's at a dealership just before it's sold. And so we built a tool for the dealers that allowed them for the first time to be able to show to their own customers what that vehicle was. So, we launched that in 2012, 13, and it continued to expand and grow as a technology, because if you think about it, in the dealership, they're hyper-focused on retail, on B2C. They have many tools, lots of a deep tech stack, lots of providers, but on the commercial side, in that department, they had zero tech. And so over time, they would ask us to add more to our technology platform. So we added marketing tools, we added CRM tools, we added inventory management and pricing tools. So now it's a full platform that allows the dealer to operate and track and do analysis. And somewhere in between there, when we had about 500 dealers, we recognized that we now had on our platform lots of vehicles, and that what we could do for other participants in the space, so let's take, for example, an upfitter, a manufacturer who creates this body, they have no visibility. In fact, they have to put somebody in a car to drive to a dealership with a clipboard to check off whether they still have the dump truck on their lot. So we started letting them know when one would move. and we aggregated the inventory data and put it on their website so that their brand loyal customers, like, I don't know if you've heard of Knapheide, but they're the largest body manufacturer, so that a Knapheide loyal customer could come to Knapheide's site and search for a vehicle in stock on a dealer's lot. And why that's so critical is because these essential businesses, they need a vehicle now. If one of their vehicle dies or if they have an opportunity to expand, it's an immediate need. Right now, today, if you want to order one of these vehicles, it's a wait of a minimum of 2 to 3 months. So finding them immediately is a big critical thing. After that, we were asked by GM to do that for them. So we power the tier 1 sites for Chevrolet.com, GMC.com, and GMFleet.com. We started doing special projects to help our partners both on the upfitter side and the OEM side. And we continue to expand our business with the dealers and helping the dealers recognize and maximize a business that is highly profitable and highly important for what their goal is in a marketplace, which is to be a community, a unique community partner.
Got it. So you've got now scale, and as you worked from your beginnings in 2010, 2011, and you started to put the puzzle pieces together, and with your experience in the venture world, how did you then manifest? Where did you go looking? How did you find and put together? Because you've got an interesting group, and I'd say group of investors. How did you put that group together, and how did you make that happen over that time from 2011 to today?
And that's really a picture book story, because in my previous companies, I was always very hyper-focused on control and maintaining control. My last software company in the cable industry actually bought my investors out as I scaled. This time I said, I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes. And this time I'm going to do things a little more with scale in mind. Because let's face it, it's hard to scale if you don't have investors backing you. It just is if you want to build a company.
Yep.
So I started with, in 2010, let's see, I guess it was 12, raised a seed round, a traditional seed round. And then as we prototyped it, launched it, and started rolling it out in 2014, I raised an A series. Now, that was especially challenging for me. I don't know, George, if you know much about the statistics around women-run companies and investors. 2% of all VC funding goes to women-run companies. 2%. And my joke was, I'm in Northern California. I should go to Silicon Valley, but I had two things going against me. Number one, I'm a woman, and number two, it's work trucks. It wasn't very sexy. I was very fortunate. I met an investment group called Golden Seeds, and they are a very large combination of, they do have a fund, but they also do angel investing. And actually in 2014, they made more investments that year than any other combined investment group. And they only invest in women-run companies. So that was the backbone of our 2014. And then we scaled again. And I was looking for more sophisticated support, more advice at that point. And that's when I didn't find them. Autotech Ventures found us. And so that was our B series.
Got it.
And then since then, we've done a little inside round so that we could launch and grow Convoy.
That's very cool. Have you seen, I'll get to sort of the pandemic impact on venture, but have you seen in the last few years any migration? Obviously, Golden Seeds really played that important role as a female-led company. Have you seen any evolution in the openness, or are we still talking about? I mean, is there incremental progress? Or are we still looking at a really difficult door to knock down?
I think just like any other change that needs to take place. It takes time, and it takes people that help other people focus on it. A lot of times,
Right.
it's just that people don't recognize that that's happening. In fact, with everything that's happened with the pandemic and then the immediate Black Lives Matter situation, internally we did some really cool studying around how people are influenced without even knowing it. And I think that that's so. I'm very hopeful. I think it's important. I've always worked to have at least one or more women on my board. I think that's an important thing. But on the other hand, I believe that people should do things based on merit too. So you just have to work harder at finding the right people.
I appreciate that. So let me springboard from that, and as you talk about the makeup of your board, the makeup of the investor community, how do your investors, as you have them now, how do they help you in your pursuit of growth and expansion? Is it, is that network effect out there? How do they do it for you?
I have been very, very fortunate, and I've always felt that as an entrepreneur that investors are the most important thing. That's how you get the work done. It's the fuel. But this time I've been very focused on using investor resources as a strategy. And I will say that I was very blessed to find Golden Seeds, and they're wonderful, strong, supportive people.
Right.
But then meeting when I met, we were doing very well. We could either have done an inside round or a B. And I wanted to find someone a group that could contribute. And so when I met Autotech Ventures, that was what they said, that they would, have more than just money that was going in.
Right.
And I actually talked to 4 of their CEOs of their portfolio to see if that was in fact true. And from each one, I heard something a little different, but it validated that. And then I have to say that they have been phenomenal. They have done introductions, as you pointed out, that have helped create network effect. They've had good advice, both on the board and separately as resources. And it's an important next step for a company, I think, when they're growing, to find investors that do that.
Well, so as the folks who are viewing and listening are thinking about, and you described, should it be an inside? Should there be a B? There's a lot of thoughts that are going on, and folks need to consider who and what, not just the money. I mean, obviously that's but it has to be something beyond that is providing you guidance, counsel, support, actual services and the like as you're making those choices, and as you look forward, as you look to what's next for Convoy, what's next for WTS, what are you thinking about next as we move into 2021, 2022 and beyond?
Well, I in our intimate environment, I'll give you a little insight. Literally, the Monday in March of the week of the stay-at-home announcement, we had just finished a virtual data room and a deck to raise a C round.
Wow.
So. Right?
Timing's everything.
Isn't it? Well, it's actually been very good for us. I'm really appreciative that timing happened, because we prepared and did a lot of analysis around how to grow and what to do and what extra fuel would look like. And then we had a pause, that while everybody was deciding, we did some really serious internal work. We created some really good far out there runway for ourselves, and decided that, really what would make the most sense in this opportune time is to do some internal scaling quickly. The Convoys ended up growing even more quickly through the pandemic as all the influences of dealers being either open or closed. For example, I'll give you one example. We had a dealer in northern Ohio who literally tripled in size because Michigan dealers were closed.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot going on, and by focusing on being a marketplace and a place where you could find details, structured data around what a vehicle is,
Right.
we found that we were facilitating that, buyer to find what they needed during a time of great complexity, mm-hmm. right? So it's been very good for us. We now have not only an extended runway, but a very focused growth plan. And we're likely to be in first or second quarter to be back looking for some kind of extra rocket fuel, so to speak. But we're pretty good right now as far as having our moonshot set up. So.
That's wonderful. Well, unfortunately, they're telling me that our time is up, but I want to thank you, Kathryn Schifferle. I really appreciate this. Wonderful counsel, wonderful thoughts for the folks who are joining us around freight tech and venture and what to be thinking about. Kathryn Schifferle, the CEO and founder of Work Truck Solutions, thank you so much for doing this, and I hope our paths cross soon. Take good care.
Nice meeting you, George. Thank you.
Pleasure. Be well. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of our virtual summit.